Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. While we are waiting for a few more folks to join, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And you should see. If you would, in the chat box, type your name, the organization that you're with, and the role that you play working with young people who are expectant and parenting. All right. All right, thank you so much. For those of you just joining, we just asked everybody to put their name, their organization, and their role that they play working with expectant and parenting young people in the chat box. So I see we've got, let's see, Jenna O'Keefe. Hi, Jenna from Annie Casey, Vera from Carroll County Schools, Lisa Spade. Let's see, Sam Gordon, Samantha Gordon with Baltimore City DSS, Harford County DSS, Christine Johnson with Maryland Department of Health, April Moore, Tori. Excellent. All right, keep adding those so we know who is here with us. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Deborah Chilcote. I am the Senior Manager of Capacity Building and Evaluation at Healthy Teen Network. We are a national organization based in Baltimore though, so we are right in your backyard. We are your neighbors, and we are really, really fortunate that we have had lots of opportunity to work in the local area on issues that are really important to us as an organization. For those of you who don't know anything about Healthy Teen Network, we are a national organization that was the first to really be advocating on behalf of expectant and parenting young people. We have been around for over 45 years and excited to be able to bring some more information specifically about this population, expectant and parenting young people, to you. And I want to give a shout out to Ella. Ella, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm Ella. I use she, her pronouns. I am the capacity building specialist at Healthy Teen Network, and I will be working behind the scenes today to support Deb and do tech stuff. So if you have any tech problems, you can send me a private message in the chat.
Excellent, thanks Ella. All right, so want to just kind of share with you what we had envisioned for today. Our main goal is to increase your capacity to be able to protect the rights of this particular population, expectant and parenting young people. And we are going to have a focus on the state of Maryland and their laws. So we will talk about the federal law, which is Title IX, and specifically about the Maryland Pregnant and Parenting Students Attendance Policy, which was passed in 2017. We will talk about some situations to uphold federal and state laws, and then probably want to know, what do you do if you witness a violation, and how can you prevent it from happening in the future? So let me first tell you that this work is coming out of some work that we were doing in Baltimore City called Map to Success. The program was a 2-year program that was funded through the federal government's Office of Population Affairs and their Pregnancy Assistance Fund. And the money came through the state of Maryland Department of Health to Baltimore City Health Department. So we were really partnering specifically with BCHD on this work. The idea behind it is to improve supports for expectant and parenting young people. What we focused specifically on with our Map to Success project was to increase the capacity and access to services across the city. And this was going to be for anyone who identified as a young parent and was under the age of 25. So when we talk about young mothers or young fathers, it is anyone who is 24 and younger. As far as Healthy Teen Network's contribution, of course, we were a thought partner, we were a core implementation partner, but really our focus was primarily on doing some assessment and making some recommendations, whether it be for policy or for practice. And so our specific focus was to assess these services across the city on their openness and accessibility to expectant and parenting young people. And then we also wanted to find out on the other side, as the consumer, how did these young people experience accessing these services? And we had a specific lens for young fathers. So when we interviewed the consumers, they were young dads. And we will be sharing more in other webinars as part of this series, the results of those assessments. And Ella's going to be the one being able to share that information with all of you. So I do want to acknowledge the funding. Like I said, it came from the federal government through the state to Baltimore City Health Department. And I also want to let them off the hook that anything that I say is not their fault. So really important that we, of course, honor that they saw this as a priority. So thank you to all of them. So we're going to chat a little bit more. I really am curious to find out from you, in what ways do you stand up for or defend the rights of expectant and parenting young people in the work that you do? So go ahead and take some time to type in some of those things. I would say, change names or organizations. We don't want to out anybody or shame anyone. So just do your best to be able to share your experience without, indicting anyone without trial. There we go. Thank you. I thought y'all were typing as slow as I type. I think it's just technology, and we're competing, of course, for Wi-Fi around here. All right, so Christine says, advocate for them, respect their agency as parents and young people with lived experience and wisdom. Absolutely. That is so great. Thank you, Christine. KT Anderson, advocating for them to have extra time to do schoolwork after giving birth. Absolutely. That's the one thing that always surprises me. I mean, if you think about the rights and kind of benefits that we afford those who are not young people, so adults and older, maternity leave, et cetera, it really doesn't compare as far as what they're afforded as young people. So let's see what else we got. Yeah, policy reform. Thanks, Diana. I'm glad you're here. Policy reform, legislative advocacy. Yeah. Samantha says, obtain resources and assist in obtaining support, advocating. Absolutely, perfect. Black Diamond, provide life skills. Oh, that's so great. It's all for aging out of care. Yeah, so anyone who are in systems of care, making sure that they are fully supported. One thing to note, for those of you who don't know, youth who are in systems of care have a disproportionate likelihood of becoming an expectant and to be expectant or to be a parent at a young age. So we absolutely need to keep those young people in mind. Tori, yeah, knowledge is key. Ready by 21 purchased a curriculum for safe disclosure and resources for young parents. Perfect, perfect. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of standardized curricula for this particular population. So sometimes we have to piece things together. But the one thing that is very, very solid is, of course, the law. And so I want to say that all the things that you're doing, you absolutely are going to have the legal system behind you as far as how it is written. How it is practiced might be a little different, but you at least have some supports both at the federal level and the state level. And this is really important because, as you know, these young people are really trying to navigate a world that's not always kind to them, and any kind of protections that we can give them while giving them, the space to be independent is really lovely. We also need to make sure that they are protected from discrimination. Okay, thank you, everybody. I appreciate that. So next thing, we are going to do a poll. If you would, Ella, you're in just a second. I need you to launch a poll because we're going to really dive into our discussion about federal and state laws when it comes to protecting young people who are pregnant and parenting. So I want you to think back, all of you who are here with us today, I want you to think back to when you first started working with young people who were expectant and parenting. I am curious, I'm a trainer by profession. What type of training did you get about the federal law that protects young people? So Title IX, just wondering. So go ahead and launch that. Thanks, Ella.
Hey, Deb, it's showing that I'm logged in from another device. Do you have the polls button at the bottom?
I do, so I'll do it. No problem. All right, there you go. So what type of training did you get? None. I had to research laws on my own. I learned about them along the way. There was a situation that came up, and you had formal training. Okay, we're going to close that in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, thanks for those who participated. Let me share the results. By and large, you all had to learn about them along the way. So it's kind of an organic introduction to these federal laws. Ideally, I would, of course, love to see more of the formal training or some sort of formal sharing about any kind of changes to these laws, but this doesn't surprise me at all. So thanks, everybody. I appreciate that. All right, let me go ahead and get rid of that. So one of the things that we do want to find out a little bit more about is your familiarity with the Maryland law. And so at this point, we're going to use one of Zoom's really cool features, and that's the annotation function or the whiteboard. So for those of you who are not familiar, what I need you to do is to click on the toolbar where it says View Options. Then it'll have a drop down and it'll say Annotate. And then you should have a toolbar pop up. I want you to go ahead and check the shape of the check mark. That's the shape that I want you to use. And you will basically use your mouse to stamp the screen when I post the options up for you. All right, so here we go. Again, thinking about the Maryland law, the pregnant and parenting students attendance policy. How did you learn about that? Was it word of mouth? Did you have a required training? Was it in a newsletter or an email? Maybe optional webinar or media? Maybe you saw something on the local news. What did you see?
I don't want to cut you off, but I don't have an option for a check mark.
Okay, so you can use your mouse and just make a check mark. Oh, you know what? I think
Deb and Ella, it was the words were there, but now on my side, they're
like,
just all white. I was like, what?
Looks like somebody took control. Hold on 1 second. Let's see. Okay, sit tight. You will see my stuff in 1 second.
Thanks, Deb.
You're welcome. think everybody's probably used to this by now, right? Oh, and I forgot your organization's public affairs department. So those are your 6 choices. All right, go ahead and stamp away, folks. All right. Yeah, it looks like, looks like most of you, so 3 of you were optional webinar, a couple of you had a required training. Some just saw it like in an email alert or a newsletter, word of mouth media. Maybe you saw a news article about it, or maybe something on social media. All right, great. Thanks, everybody. Let me go ahead and clear those. Appreciate it. All right. So why do you think it's important to stay on top of the laws and the policies? You can add ideas to the chat box, but of course, the first thing is, well, we want to protect these young people's rights. So one of the things to keep in mind is, how are you going to be able to stay on top of the changes? Because they could happen pretty quickly. We're really fortunate that we have folks like NARAL, Pro-Choice Maryland, who will provide updates when there are things that are happening in the legislature. Having specific protocols and structure is really, really important. How do you know if the young person's rights are being violated, or what you're witnessing might be a violation, unless you have some very clear structure? And then what do you do about it? Also holds people accountable. Maybe just with a little thumbs up in the reaction button here, but how many of you really do think that people take reporting Title IX violations seriously? Maybe sort of. Okay. I think sometimes we just kind of we take them seriously, but we don't necessarily act on them. We're like, oh, well, a little wishy-washy about it. But it's really, really important because, of course, we don't want our young people to be so focused on these things that are happening that are discriminating against them. We want them to be able to really look at their schoolwork, being a good parent, being a good citizen, those things. So if you would, I'm going to have Ella put in the chat box a link for the Title IX of Educational Amendments of 1972. Let me put this drawing here. Okay. If everybody could open this in your browser. Don't go too far with your holiday shopping. Just let's stay with these policy rights. So one of the things just to also kind of keep in mind is when we have this information at our hands, we can ideally understand when the rights of these young people are being chipped away. But you should have opened up to the subsection 106, which is the marital and parental status. Is everybody good? Everybody there? Perfect. So this is a lot of legal jargon and a lot of words that you have to really kind of digest to understand, but I'm going to give you some highlights. And that is, number one, obviously for this particular section, we are talking about the status of the young person on the basis of their sex or their gender. They're really looking at sex, okay? And so the first, you'll see in subsection B, the first thing is all about pregnancy and related conditions. And let me just be very, very clear. When we are talking about pregnancy and related conditions, it says right here, it is pregnancy, it is childbirth, it is a false pregnancy, termination of pregnancy, and recovery therefrom. So it really spans the gamut of this experience. So in lay people's terms, this very first one is like saying, don't discriminate against any students. because they might be experiencing pregnancy, childbirth, etc. So on the PowerPoint, you're going to see, I'm going to just put it in kind of lay people terms so that you understand what this legal jargon says. You can't treat a student differently based on their sex. Okay, you can't. Treat them differently because they are experiencing a pregnancy or experienced a termination of a pregnancy, whether it was proactive or a miscarriage. You can't, okay? If you scroll down, you will see the next one is really talking about you can't exclude a student or force them to be in a separate program or activity because of this situation. So the student who may be pregnant or parenting can request a separate program or activity, but you can't force them. So if the school itself wants to provide options to this young person, totally fine, but it doesn't mean that this young person's going to take them up on their particular options that they've made available. So if this student wants to join the dance team, the school can't prevent them. The school can't force them to be part of the pregnant student dance team either. Make sense? The other thing is, when we look at number 2, we will see that this is talking about that you can't require a student who is pregnant or parenting obtain a certificate from a physician unless you require every student to provide this documentation from a physician when participating in programs and activities, okay? So if this expectant young parent wants to be on the dance team, the school can't require any special certification exclusively for them. Anyone who wants to be part of the dance team is required to provide whatever the certification is. So it's not something that should be unique or special to this young person just because of their physical condition or the fact that they are a parent. All right, let's keep going. Oh, my mouse is really touchy. All right, so here's another thing. So you can't force a student into a pregnant or parenting program or activity. So for instance, if this pregnant or parenting student wants to be enrolled in a childbirth or parenting class, that's wonderful. Encourage them. We do think that it's important for them to understand what's happening with their body, how to understand human development, child development, breastfeeding, all of that. However, the school cannot force that young person to take these classes. So they can't just automatically, the student gets their schedule and they're like, why am I in childhood development? I'm supposed to be in AP bio. They can't force them. And so I see the chat blowing up. Don't worry, we'll get to you. We're going to keep going. So you can't treat the pregnancy or the delivery as anything other than a temporary disability. So if we had a student who had broken their leg, for instance, that's temporary. We assume that that leg is going to heal over time. And this young person probably needs temporary accommodations right now so that they can get around school if they're in the school building. But we know that that's not a forever situation. It's the same thing for the expectant and parenting young person. So if you think about the student who may have broken their leg, imagine them trying to walk up the stairs with the change of class, all the young people in the hallways with their backpack. They're trying to stabilize themselves on crutches. Oh, and don't forget, they probably have their cell phone in their hand. Not likely to be a safe situation. Also probably pretty exhausting and a pain in the you-know-what. So this young person's probably going to ask for the access to the elevator. A lot easier getting from floor to floor. Just, push a button, you're gone. Same thing for the young person who is pregnant. So if you just swap out the broken leg for the pregnancy, again, it's not long-term, it is temporary. And I bet you she would really enjoy going on the elevator as opposed to having to walk up and down the steps with the change of classes, especially as she gets further along in her pregnancy. She may be perfectly fine doing that. She may be perfectly fine going up and down the steps. It is her right to choose how she wants to navigate that space. Okay. So the other thing is, you can't take away someone's status or change their status before the birth and after the birth. So for instance, if the student was the class president when they became pregnant or expecting, guess what? The school can't take being class president away from them. Class president before the birth, still class president after the birth of the child. Okay, so just keep these things in mind. And now I'm going to stop because I think that I want to see what's in the chat here. All right, let's see. Yes, is it Vipelo? Absolutely agree that it can be a safety issue, or if there's a high risk pregnancy happening. So you absolutely will take that into consideration. We're going to dive a little bit deeper into specific situations when the law, you might need to like really think about, is this a situation where we need to encourage versus just have hands off as far as that's concerned. But again, this is a temporary disability. Also, the school, I think Tammy, you were saying that, hi Tammy, welcome, is not a doctor. And so they must defer to the medical provider. That's why there could be some documentation that the physician provides saying there could be some limitations. If they are participating in physical education and the particular skill or unit that they're on is something that has to do with contact sports or something that might result in injury to the fetus or to the mother, that it might impact the pregnancy, then there might be justification for the physician sending a note. However, it's still up to the young person, her right, but the school cannot force her to sit out. So she should not be hanging out on the bleachers while they're doing basketball. Okay. All right. So like I said, let's go ahead and take a deeper dive. But first, pop quiz. If I was to give you a pop quiz right now about the law, about Title IX, how many of you would look like my poor little crying emoji here? Right? Because it can be a little complicated. And you're just lucky that I didn't make you sit here and read all that legal jargon, because it can be a lot to take in. And we really think it's important that these young people are able to break down the laws into manageable, accessible, bite-sized messages and hear the bite-sized messages, whether it be these young people or the professionals who work with these young people. So one of the really cool things that we did for Map to Success was we also created products that would help these young people know what their rights are and be able to protect their rights, and also to self-advocate. And you'll see what I mean by we actually gave them the words to say should they ever be confronted or feel like they're being discriminated against because of their pregnancy or parenting status. So I am excited to share with you two of these products. The one on your left on the screen is what we call the Protect Your Rights infographic. And we took all of the information about Title IX and a little bit about the Maryland law that was passed in 2017, and we put it into very simple language. And we also provided these little word bubbles from the characters on the poster, the infographic, with the things a young person could say to self-advocate. Okay. What you see here on the right with the multicolor cells is a wallet card. And I'm going to reach right back over here and grab my sample so I can show you what this looks like in real life. Okay, it is the size of a business card. So this would fit nicely into a wallet, into a cell phone case, a diaper bag, a sports bag, back pocket. This is so that if these young people are ever on the move, and challenged about what their rights are. All they have to do is pull this out and be like, all right, and figure out which segment of this applies to the situation and what they could say. So I would like to share with you a little bit more about the law and how it looks on our infographic. So the very first one you'll see up here on the top left is your school must provide you with reasonable adjustments necessary because of your pregnancy. So before I reveal how we presented that in the poster, can you just take a second and type in what kinds of reasonable adjustments you think an expectant or parenting young person would need so that they can continue in school and continue with their education? Oh, Black Diamond, I'm going to tell you, don't you worry, because I want these to be everywhere. I want these plastered everywhere. So I'll tell you how you can get all this stuff. All right, reasonable adjustments. So childcare. I don't think the schools are required to provide childcare, but they could certainly help link you. So just kind of think about the school building itself. Okay, a tutor, excused time off. Okay, anything else? Health suite, yeah, maybe somebody in the health suite might need to brush up on some prenatal care. All right, so move this over so I can see all my stuff. So this was what we were looking at here. It was this part of the law, and we have revealed the elevator was one example, and I need a bigger desk. The school has to provide it for me. Another thing could be bathroom breaks. I don't know about you, but you know, the rumor is a lot of pregnant women need more time for the bathroom. So having that be understood across the board in the school is really, really key. Okay, another piece of the law is the school must allow you whether or not, allow you to choose whether or not you want to participate in special instruction programs or classes. So I'm going to ask you to click on your reaction button, and there's a little surprised emoji. It should look like, what is that, Kevin from Home Alone, right? Tell me if you think this is not true, that schools can require a young person to take a class about early childhood. You think that's true or not true? If you think it's not true, I want that surprised look all over your faces. That's right, they cannot force you to take a program. You get to decide what program is right for you. I think that went a little too fast. There you go. So this young person, you can see they're in the teen parent program. I'm on the right-hand side. She's walking around like in the teen, like basically where a early childhood education classroom is. And she's saying, I'll decide what program is right for me. So she can't be forced, or they can't be forced. Okay, how about the next one? So we're looking down here. Your school must allow you to continue participating in classes. Okay. What kind of classes do you think that schools might likely tell a young person who is pregnant or parenting that they can't participate in? Swimming, gym, shop. Swimming is so funny because that's like an amazing physical activity for someone who's pregnant. Fire and rescue, very good. Dance, chemistry lab. Yeah, I mean, I can imagine that someone would be concerned about some sort of, you know, exposure to that. All right, let's see. So what could our young people say? Keep it simple. Actually, I can attend class. All right. Yeah, we were thinking like auto mechanics, phys ed, any of those really kind of like robust and like really physical type of classes, but it could be something other than that as well. So how about this one? Your school must allow you to continue participating in extracurricular activities. Sports, musical, theater, dance, right? So you'll see here, our students want to stay in the musical, and our pregnant basketball player wants to stay on the team. And guess what? They can. The school has to make reasonable accommodations for them. Someone had mentioned tutoring. Absolutely, that has to do with this particular statement. Your school must allow you to return to the same academic and extracurricular status as before your medical leave began. So they also have to give you the opportunity to make up any missed work because of your leave. So if you are in the honors program, you stay in the honors program. They cannot punish you and refuse you the opportunity to make up work. If you're the captain of the sports team before your medical leave, you're the captain of the sports team after your medical leave. Okay. All right, we'll just do one more. Isn't this a cute poster? This poster is amazing, and I will tell you definitely how to get it. Your school must protect you from harassment based on sex, including harassment because of pregnancy or related conditions. Now, I'm not going to ask you to put examples in the chat because some of those are just terrible and just torture to read. But we know that oftentimes these young people are shamed or they're used as an example of what happens when you have sex, or they say negative things about the changing pregnant body. So this type of harassment is not okay. So what could a young person say? Well, simply, let's see, I'm catching up. I have a right to be protected from bullying. We know that there's a huge effort around anti-bullying in schools. Because we aren't physically in schools right now, it would be really interesting to see has that really kind of moved even more into the digital space. It was always there, but has it gotten worse, or how exactly does that look? It'd be very, very interesting to know how that has changed. Okay. So now I do want you to type in the chat box. How might someone's negative attitude with this particular population get in the way of the work that they're doing? I'm sure we've all seen it. So how might the negative attitude get in the way of the work? Type away, type away. Yeah, definitely. Samantha had said they've got preconceived notions about the population and judge them instead of actually helping them. That was something that even our young dads had said, you know, just help us. People feel like their students don't have rights, people are judgmental, discriminatory, steer the student in a certain direction. You know, wouldn't you rather go to this program or, you know, yeah. And the youth might not benefit from services. That's right. So, you know, one of the things we do find from our work in Map to Success is that their experience interacting and interfacing with our services is huge. And if we don't create a welcoming space for them, we're never going to get them back. We've lost them and we'll never get them back. All right, go ahead and open up that annotate function again. Remember, you're going to click view options. We're going to stick with the check mark. Tell me if any of these sound familiar. Just put a check mark next to the ones that do. All right. We're talking about beliefs and attitudes and harassment specifically. You're not equipped to be a good parent. So you're going to be a dad. I guess you'll never finish school now. They can't afford to be parents. They're just kids. You're only 15. You should probably put the baby up for adoption. Well, I guess she's just having sex with everyone. Now she's pregnant. Pretty familiar. Yeah, and very sad that this is what they have to endure. These statements discriminate based on their sex and gender. They discriminate on their sexual activity status. They discriminate on their parenting status. And frankly, there's some ageism here. Can you see it? You know, adolescents and young people, there is a lot more growing to happen, but the whole ageism thing, just really, really frustrating. So what could you say, and I want you to do this in the chat box really quick. What could you say to someone so that they know for sure you've got their back, that you have their back 100%, that you will support them and make sure that their rights are absolutely supported and upheld. So what could you say to someone?
That's kind of hard because you kind of just said what I was going to say. Or like some form of that and the different words, but just kind of that open approach, just kind of like, I'm here for you, like I'm here to help empower. I don't know, just positive words.
Yeah, I'm here for you. I've got your back. Yeah, let's see. I'll give you all the information and let you make informed decisions. Oh, that's so empowering. Your life's not over. You're just beginning a new chapter. Where do you want to begin? So like asking them, I'm here to help. I want to support you in any way I can. And then even maybe going one step further, like helping them understand what their options are. Because you could say, I'm here to support you, but they're like, well, I don't even know what I need. Yeah, how can I help? Great, Samantha, I appreciate that. Perfect. Okay. All right, so this brings me back to my original question when I had asked you about your training. Most of you said that you kind of learned along the way, and I'm curious to see if your answers are going to be similar when it comes to the Maryland law that was passed in 2017, the Pregnant and Parenting Students Attendance Policy. So I'm hoping, and you'll see it's here in yellow, I'm hoping that I'm wrong in that maybe you had some more formal training about this, but if it was more like learning along the way, or if this is the first time you're hearing about it, give me a thumbs up. Or if you think other people probably don't know about it, so you don't have to like share your own stuff. Yeah. Yeah, so that was one of the reasons why we thought it was also really important to create another product, which is called You're Excused, that really, again, takes the Maryland law that basically protects young people so that they can take care of themselves during their pregnancy or their partner during their pregnancy and their child once it's born, you know, if they've got appointments, or even if there's like some family law issues, they need time to tend to those things. And so, you know, yeah, they can read the law and, you know, scratch their head like some of us do, or they could take a look at this particular poster that we created. It's called You're Excused. And we were very intentional that it looked like one of those old school ink stamps, You're Excused. You know, can you hear it? And boom, right? No questions asked. And then it breaks down the law. You are excused for prenatal and postnatal appointments, for your labor and delivery, care for your child if they get sick or have to go to their well baby visits. Your recovery time is spelled out very clearly here, and any legal appointments that have to do with the pregnancy or parenting, it's covered. You're totally fine. What I wonder is how often the folks who are the attendance officers are aware of these types of changes. I'm hoping that there's some sort of orientation to this, but if there isn't, it really is incumbent on anyone who supports this population to educate them. Now, one of the other things I just want to draw attention to here is we intentionally put in bright yellow, hey, expectant and parenting students, that means partners too. So we know that not all young people stay with the biological parents, you know, other biological parent, and someone else steps in and really takes on the role, a big role as far as parenting. And so with this, if that person wants to be identified, then they can accompany this the parent, the biological parent, to medical appointments, etc. Okay. So we're really excited that this is here and available. And you'll notice also, if you can still see it behind the pop out, we have a little cutout of the school. So we make the connection between some of the other products that we have created. Now, if you ever witness a violation, you absolutely have options. Of course, one of those options is just like be a bystander and don't do anything. I don't think that's a great option because we're all in this to protect these young people. So let's dive into what can you do? Well, the first thing is you can file a complaint with the school system. And every school is required, capital R, required to have a Title IX coordinator. If you don't know who that person is, find their name. You can go to Maryland State Department of Education's website and tap into the the MSDE Equity Assurance and Compliance Office. They have a list there of what's called the Maryland Title IX Network. Now, I will tell you, when I just checked it a little while ago, it hasn't been updated for this particular school year, but it's a great place to start. The other thing is you can contact MSDE's Equity Office, and director is Kim Johnson. Her email address is right there. Send information there. I think it's also really important that when you go looking for your Title IX coordinator, if you don't find that person's name, that you let Kim Johnson know, because they absolutely are required to be there. Something else on that landing page for MSDE is they have a lot of resources on the right-hand side. There's a PowerPoint about Title IX, list of online resources, and a direct link to the federal law if you want, some light reading. So the other thing is, if you still can't find who you're looking for or what you're looking for, sometimes the Title IX coordinator is subsumed under an office that deals with and enforces non-discrimination policy. So you'll see here on Baltimore City Public Schools website, I just took a screenshot. It is on the website, but you got to dig for it a little bit, okay? So what else can you do? So there's another option is, of course, you can go right to the U.S. Department of Education, their Office of Civil Rights. Anyone can file a complaint. The young person can file a complaint. You can file a complaint because you witnessed something. Their parents can, anybody can file a complaint when it comes to any sort of discrimination based on sex and gender. So there is a form, it's government, there's a form. So fill out the form, follow up, make sure that, that they're actually moving on the complaint. The third option, a little closer to home, is contact an organization that supports young people who are expectant in parenting. And the first one is National Women's Law Center, the Right in BC. It is a national organization, but they have this phenomenal staff that not only will be able to help you navigate and tell you kind of, what the rights are, but they have produced some really fantastic resources. And the one that it comes to mind is something called Stopping School Push Out for Girls Who Are Pregnant and Parenting. It is an entire series that's really focused on stopping school push out for girls. And this is one of the focus areas. It is not a heavy read. I mean, it's heavy on the heart, but it's not a heavy read as far as like how long it takes to read it. The other thing is we have right around the corner, NARAL Pro-Choice Maryland. They are phenomenal. They are the ones who have their finger on the pulse of the legislation, helping guide the craft legislation. If there's ever a question, you can contact their staff and they'll, super quick to be able to respond to you. So these are all things that you can do after you've seen the violation of a young person's rights. I'm hoping you're in the camp that's like, no, we need to prevent this from happening. So what can you do? Well, I'm actually curious, what are you doing right now to uphold the rights of expectant and parenting young people? So go ahead into that chat box and type away some really cool ideas, because I know they're out there. What do you do? And it could be something as simple as just step in and, stop somebody or tell them that's not okay, or, one of the oldies but goodies is just be like, ooh, ouch. You just say, ouch. And say, this young person has rights. But what else could you do? That's kind of like an interpersonal solution. Yeah. Yeah, so we have to make sure every person is aware of the rights. So whether it's the young people or the staff, maybe integrate it into a staff meeting or annual staff retreat. Yeah, wraparound services. Let's see, Black Diamond. Offer wraparound services, provide parent cafes. For those of you who don't know what a parent cafe is, there's a formal program called a parent cafe, And then there's also like, you could just have like a meetup group, but maybe one of the topics that you focus on is their rights. Educate. Oh gosh, yes, Christine, educate and motivate. They also need to know that this is really important for them, that they should step up. Yeah, thanks, Tori. Yeah, trainings. And when we give you all the recording to this, blast it. It'll be the best gift you give this year. All right, excellent ideas. Love that. So, oh, we did this. I'm gonna go ahead and click through. So if you have nothing else to go on after this particular time together, these are kind of my action steps for you. Find out who your Title IX coordinator is. You're going to get an opportunity to get these posters, and there's more to this as well. We have another one on co-parenting, which they'll highlight in the third of the series of these webinars that's focused on co-parenting. Yeah, the wallet cards, we have them, both a physical copy like the one I shared, but you can download all of these from Healthy Teen Network's website, and that's healthyteennetwork.org. You can also get them on Be More for Healthy Babies website. And as soon as we can, we're going to put an order form on the Be More for Healthy Babies website, because we have print copies of these, slick print copies, like the cards and the posters that will be available. Some of them will be smaller, like 11 by 17. Sorry. Can you see I love these? My decorations. So like 11 by 17. And then I've also ordered large, like real poster size, 24 by 36. So like big, we really mean it. And some people have been wondering probably, why did we decide to do paper in this digital world we live in? And the bottom line is because it's in your face. You cannot miss it. And our goal is to get all of these kind of like wallpapered all over the state, in health suites, in any place where young people are interfaced and interact. If you work with these young people specifically, make sure that you provide these resources to them. So when you do order these from us or you download them, you get one for everybody. Forward it in their email, whatever. Tell them to take a screenshot of them so that they know. If you're a supervisor, please incorporate this into your meeting agendas. Get on NARAL, Pro-Choice Maryland's mailing list, invite guest speakers. We'd be happy to come. They, I'm sure, would have an opportunity to talk with you. It's really easy, especially when we can do it over Zoom. Tap into those national partners like Healthy Teen Network and the Office of Population Affairs at the Health and Human Services, the original funder. They have tons of resources on their Pregnancy Assistance Fund website, and lots of lessons learned from their grantees, things that the grantees have developed over the years. Really, really great stuff. So speaking of the webinar series to come, don't miss the We Must Do Better to Engage Young Fathers. Here's how, and that'll be produced by myself, but Ella will be our facilitator. And then what really is co-parenting is going to take that deep dive into not only what we know from the research in the field, but we also conducted some research. We did a digital focus group with people who were young parents about their co-parenting experience. So you're going to hear it straight from the source. So if you would, oh, and my contact information, you're welcome to email me anytime. But really quick, I got a question for you before we roll out and we roll into more questions and answers. So my question for you is, where did it go? It's not in here. It's okay. My question for you, now that you've spent this hour together with us and learned a little bit more about Title IX and the Maryland law, what are you going to do with this information? How might you take it from here and apply it to the work that you're doing? Or who are you going to tell about it? It's nice to know, but what next? So head over to that chat box and let me know how you're going to use this information a little bit. Oh, Black Diamond, thank you so much. I'm glad that you liked it. I'm glad it was helpful. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, share with the high school nurses, share with the middle school nurses. Let's see. And maybe even the elementary. I mean, young parents, their kiddos, you know, if they have them when they're 16, they're still only 21 when they hit kindergarten. So maybe like all of the school nurses in the district would be good. Yep. Colleagues, absolutely. Call them in. That'd be great. Program, yep, yep. Colleagues, thank you. Yep, family planning, home visiting. Oh, I know. Middle school, it does seem scary to conceptualize, but they might need this information too. Okay. Fabulous, fabulous. Well, keep typing away, but at this point, if you have any questions for me, you can either open your phone line, unmute yourself, or you can type the question in the chat box. We have about 3 minutes and I'd be happy to entertain questions.
Hey, Deb and Ella, thanks for this wonderful presentation. I really appreciate it. And I've been looking forward to it for some time now. So I'm super pumped that I finally got to check it out and I look forward to the next two. My question is about limits on materials. So I know you already explained to us where people across the state can get materials and that there's eventually going to be an order form. Is there a limit, or is that just something that you guys are going to figure out later in terms of like if someone wanted to get a whole bunch of posters for their clinic or their affiliate sites, you know, or that's what, or delegates, et cetera. Is there kind of like a cap on the amount, or is that
we haven't talked about a cap at this point. I think you bring up a good point. I have plenty. Okay. Oh, and the other thing is all these materials right now are being translated into Spanish. So the Spanish version will be available too after the first of the year, I believe. So I would say, you know, be mindful that other people might want this, but by no means do we have to be stingy about it. So the options will be up there and maybe you want like one of each type or 10 of each type. I think that would be perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, this is great because I could see this, you know, being shared with people who work in foster care, people who work in services, and so many other areas where young parents, you know, go to seek services or, you know, hang out. Thanks.
Yeah, and we actually have an intern at Pro-Choice, NARAL Maryland Pro-Choice, Pro-Choice Maryland, working on a dissemination plan because we also, like I said, I want a wallpaper everywhere. Places where these young people congregate or like right around their high schools. Like if there is a Dunkin' or a Starbucks and she's already checking with them to see if there's any kind of like approval process and such, but we have a small army of people who are willing to get these out, but I absolutely would be very, very happy for people to order 10 posters and, you know, just get them into the right hands. All right, I don't see any questions in the chat. Looks like Diana unmuted.
Oh.
Oh, I thought maybe you had a question. That's okay. Well, there's Diana. She's amazing. She's been very, very supportive throughout this whole process and, you know, snaps to them, snaps to the state of Maryland, federal government, snaps to all of you who work with this particular population. So I think our time is up. If you have more questions, feel free to email us. We'll make sure that we get back to you as soon as we can. I wish you all safe and happy holidays, and we'll see you in the new year or
Thank
at
you.
the next webinar. See ya.
Thank you guys. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.